Good morning, 40E, and good morning, everybody at home. Today, welcome to Live at the Library with 40E. Today, Year 4, we are going to have a little look at a picture book. This picture book is a favourite picture book of mine that I like to read to my son. It's by an Australian author called Alison Lester, and it's all about growing up and the things you do at different ages. So hopefully today, it will give you an idea and make you think back and be a little bit nostalgic as to what life was like at certain ages, and you might have a little bit of a connection with those things. All right, let's get started. The story is called When Frank Was 4. 1. When Nikki was 1, she tipped spaghetti on her head. Frank bit the dog. Tessa took her first steps. Celeste ate cat food. Ernie bashed the saucepans. And Rosie said horse. But Clive smashed the china at his great-grandmother's birthday party. 2. When Frank was 2, he loved to wave goodnight to the moon. A kangaroo stole Rosie's chips. Tessa stopped wearing nappies, or diapers you might say. Ernie climbed into the fish tank. Celeste began to sleep all night. And once at the supermarket, Clive just couldn't wait. Can anyone infer why he couldn't wait? What do you think?
His mom was like just violently looking at things that he didn't like. I mean, she was talking to other adults about it.
Oh yeah, aren't parents annoying like that sometimes? But Nikki got lost on Christmas Eve. 3. When Clive was 3, he danced in his cousin's tutu. Ernie gave away his dummy. Dummy pacifier, thing babies suck on. Frank's dog had puppies. Rosie began to play the guitar. Celeste was given a chicken for her birthday. And Nikki got stuck up a tree. But Tessa made a pudding. 4. When Frank was 4, he ate 3 packets of fruity fish. Nikki cut off her plait. Tessa dressed up the cat. Ernie started to wear glasses. Clive took off his training wheels. And Rosie's pony arrived on Christmas morning. But Celeste danced in her first ballet and received a standing ovation. 5. When Ernie was 5, he was sure a monster lived in his cupboard. Celeste made a snowman. Rosie got a baby sister. Nikki broke her arm. Clive's mother sewed his alligator doona. Doona, Year 4, is the Australian word for a blanket. It's quite a weird Australian word, but they call it a doona. And Tessa swam right across the pool. Don't try this one at home, Year 4. But Frank parachuted off the garage roof. 6. When Nikki was 6, she did a somersault on the trampoline. Frank, somersault's a flip, like a flip. Frank kidnapped his grandmother's cat. There's a note here. Ransom, dear Nan, if you want to see your cat Socky again, leave a plate of chocolate biscuits on the back step. Ernie's lizard had babies. Clive made a crocodile-shaped birthday cake. Tessa ran away from home. She got very far, as you can see. And Celeste wore her pajama pants to school. But Rosie dressed up as Little Red Riding Hood. 7. When Celeste was 7, she had her first filling. You guys remember we did that in teeth when you have a bit of something put into your teeth to fill a cavity? Nikki flew off the swing. Rosie climbed Uluru, which is Ayers Rock. It's the largest, it's that large rock in the middle of Australia. Frank built a spaceship. And Tessa gave Clive his first kiss. Ew. But Ernie made a midnight friend. And at the end, it goes for what all the children have and all of the objects. So I quite like reading that one. It's a bit of fun, and it makes me think of things I used to do when I was your age. Now, we've actually finished our wild robot, so I'm going to start a little short story here for you today, and we'll finish it off in class. So sorry, everybody at home, but this story today is called A Good Tip for Ghosts. Dad was scabbing around in the rubbish. How embarrassing, said Pete. It's lucky there's no one else here to see us. I looked around the tip. He was right. No one was dumping rubbish except us. There was just Dad, me, and my twin brother, Pete. The man driving the bulldozer didn't count. He was probably used to people coming to the tip with junk and then taking a whole pile of stuff back home. The tip, therefore, is a word for the rubbish dump, the refuse centre, where all the rubbish is kept. It was a huge tip with a large muddy pond in the middle. I noticed a steer's skull on a post in the water. There were flies everywhere, buzzing and crawling over the disgusting piles. Thousands of seagulls were following the bulldozer looking for rotten bits of food. These country tips are fantastic, yelled Dad. Come and help me get this. He was trying to dig up an old pram. I looked around and groaned. Another car had just pulled up. It was a real flash one, a Mercedes. We had just arrived in Allensford the day before. It was a little country town where everybody would know what was going on. Pete and I had to start a new school the next day. The last thing we wanted was someone to see us digging around in the tip. A man and a boy got out of the Mercedes. They had a neat little bag of rubbish, which the man dropped onto the ground. A cloud of flies rose into the air. Let's get out of here, the man said to the boy. This place stinks. The boy was about my age, but he was twice as big as me. He had red hair and he looked tough. I could see that he was grinning his head off and staring at our car. The back seat of our old bomb was full of Dad's findings. There was a mangled typewriter, a baseball bat, 2 broken chairs, a torn picture of a green lady lying on a tree branch, and a bike with no wheels. I blushed. Dad just could not go to the tip without taking half of it back home with him. I looked up at the kid with the red hair again. He was pointing at Dad and laughing, fit to bust. Oh no, groaned Pete. Look what he's got now. Dad had run over to the bulldozer and held up his hand to stop the driver. He was digging around in front of its blade. He had found an arm sticking out of the junk. It looked like a human arm, but it wasn't. It was the arm of one of those shop dummies they put dresses on. Dad pulled and yelled and jiggled until he got the whole thing out. Then he stood there holding it up for all the world to see. A female shop dummy with no clothes on. It had a wig for hair, but apart from that, it was stark naked, its left arm pointing up at the sky. It looked like Dad was standing there with a naked woman. The red-haired kid and his father were both laughing by now. The boy bent down and picked up something from the ground. Then they got into their Mercedes and disappeared through the gate. Pete and I hung our heads with shame. We couldn't bring ourselves as Dad dragged the dummy back to the car. I hoped like anything that the red-haired kid didn't go to Allensford School. Wonderful, hooted Dad as he examined the shop dummy. Your mother will be pleased. She can use this for making dresses. Don't give me that, yelled Pete. You promised, Mum, that you wouldn't bring anything back from the tip. Dad looked a bit sheepish. This is different, boys. This isn't junk. This is valuable stuff. Now give me a hand to get this dummy into the car. Not me, I said. Nor me, added Pete. I'm not touching her. She hasn't got any clothes on. It's rude. There was no room in the back of the car, so Dad sat her up in the front. He put the seatbelt on her to stop her falling over. Her lifted up arm poked through a rust hole in the roof. Where are we supposed to sit, I asked. There's no room in the back. Well, one on each side of her, said Dad. We'll all sit in the front. There's plenty of room. So that's how we went home. Shame. Oh, terrible shame. Driving along the road with a naked dummy sitting between us. Every time we passed someone, Pete and I ducked down so that they couldn't see us. Dad just laughed. It was all right for him. He wasn't starting at a new school in the morning. Then it happened. A blue flashing light, a siren, a loud voice saying, "Pull over, driver!" It was the police. A policeman got off his motorbike and walked slowly to the car. He pulled off his gloves and adjusted his sunglasses. Then he leaned in the window. "What's this naked lady?" He started off in a cross voice, but then he started laughing. He doubled up, holding his side and pointing to the dummy. We had a report that there was a naked woman," he managed to get out in between gasps. "But it's only a shop dummy." I thought he was never going to stop laughing, but finally he said, "Where'd you get all this stuff, sir?" "The Ellensford tip," answered Dad. "The locals call it a haunted tip," said the policeman with a grin. He seemed to want to stay and talk. He was probably trying to figure out if Dad was a nutcase or not. Pete and I just sat there trying not to be seen. "No one will go there after dark," he told us. "They say the ghost of Old Man Chompers walks that tip at night." "Old Man Chompers," said Dad. "Yes, he was the caretaker of the tip long ago. They say he was minding his 2 grandchildren there one day. The children disappeared and were never found. The ground collapsed and all the rubbish fell into a huge hole. People think the children were buried under piles of rubbish. Their bodies were never discovered because the hole filled up with water and formed a lake. Not long after that, Old Man Chompers died. People have said that they've seen him walking the tip at night. He pokes at the rubbish, turning things over. He's looking for his long-lost grandchildren. He moans and groans and calls out for his long-lost darlings." I shivered and looked at Pete. "You won't catch me going to that tip again," I said. "Good," said the policeman. "It's a dangerous spot. No place for kids. Anyway, it's said that Old Man Chompers can't leave the tip until he finds his darlings. He has to stay there until he finds them. That's why he wanders the lonely tip at night. He might think that you two would do instead if he caught you there." Then he said something that made my knees wobble. His grandchildren were twins, and Old Man Chompers had poor eyesight. He might mistake you 2 boys for his lost children. The policeman looked us straight in the eyes, and then he turned and walked off, chuckling as he went. Okay, Year 4. We will carry on with the story later on in class. Thank you very much, everybody at home, and thank you for watching live at the library.